Hey everyone, and welcome to the Best of 3 Call of Duty Esports Podcast. I'm your host, Josh. SalvationsElite to my right is Sam, _Bo3, and to our farthest right, your left is Rex, ShadyNero. And guys, what a week of Call of Duty. Wow. Unreal. Literally a ton to talk about this week. Obviously, the beginning of Cod Champs, the playoffs. We're down to the final 4. And a lot of news this week. Roster Mania is going to start picking up here. And a lot going on. But first, I've got to ask, guys, what is going on?
Well, Josh, I'm feeling like I just got to my grandma's house in the middle of the woods. She's warming up the tea on the kettle. I hear a little whistle.
Don't do it.
What is that?
Don't do it.
It's the wolf whistling in the distance. He wants to blow the house down, but not today. The hunter has come by and said, "No, not today, wolf," and sent him back to the woods to go back with his pack and find real food and deer. And my grandmother is sipping her tea and feeling good.
I thought I was going on a much darker path.
I mean, that was like a mix of like Lil Bo Peep and the pigs and everything.
Also,
I mean, Sam, how you doing?
Also, I thought like the whistle was the tea kettle whistle, not
the wolf, not a little cat call.
Apparently, it was the wolf. I'm doing good. The weekend was phenomenal. Getting to watch a bunch of COD, so
dude,
I'm doing good.
Some insane,
real good
Call of Duty, absolutely nuts. But before we get into any of that, I want to read a review for you fine people out there, because you can find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on YouTube if you're watching right now, which we do appreciate all the support on all those platforms, comments, and reviews, especially 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. Today we got a review from Braisley29, who says, 5 stars, the best. I just found this podcast and I'm honestly disgusted with myself for not finding it sooner. I listened to the CODcast, no free shoutouts, and Hardpoints, no free shoutouts. And you boys are the real MVPs of COD podcasts. Keep up the consistency, fellas. Killing the game.
Thank you, Braisley.
I think we can retire.
We're done.
We're done.
This is the last episode, guys.
Wow.
We'll see you next year. But we do appreciate it. And again, SalvationsElite on Twitter, _Bo3, and Rex ShadyNero. And we got a ton to get into today. Before we get into any of it, I got to thank the sponsor of the podcast, Midnight. And if you guys don't know what Midnight is, then you guys are missing out.
You're missing
on
out.
the best esports betting in the business. You can level up your esports betting and get closer to the games, the communities that you love. Unfortunately, the odds are not yet up for this weekend, which is a travesty. May or may not have to do with the games being played offline or whatever it is. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I think it's safe to say that.
There might be a little safe here.
It's safe to say the odds are not in our favor.
But if they do go up, the Huntsman versus Ravens matchup, I would take the Huntsman personally.
Ooh,
I think Huntsman is like
really?
a surefire bet with that one, and I think you can make some cash with that.
Really?
I do.
No spoilers for later. I mean, since Rex already what would the odds have to be multiplier wise for you to pick London?
Oh man, if it was 4,
really,
and then
that's been
1 point something, I put some money on London. Just
I mean, they are your boys. They were your boys, man. Rip the dream. It's crazy. I know. Is it what odds would it take to convince you, Rex, to throw your money on London?
Throw my money on London?
Yeah, all of it.
I just
your
whole pile.
I should save this for later, but I just don't think London are gonna win it. I just don't. You could say
it would have to be quite a bit.
Have to be quite a bit. Have to be a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, 5 times.
5 times, 10 times.
6, 7.
Oh my! Wow, you are convinced. But they are doing a promotion right now where if you bet £20, you get 5 free, and if you do that five times, the 5th time you get 10. Whoa. So it's some free cash there if you really enjoy betting.
Literally
and
free
they
cash.
have a lot of customizable odds and a lot of different ways to bet. And they do outrights, they do weighted odds, and you can bet in a lot of different ways, and you customize it yourself. So there's a lot of good options. I really, really recommend it. It's a blast. It really, really is. Rex, what do you think about Midnight?
I think Midnight's great. I think betting is one of those things in esports that, let's be honest, some of the games just aren't going to be as interesting to you. Let's take like maybe a Seattle-Paris matchup. You might not be a fan of either of those teams. If you even bet like $1, $2, $5, whatever it might be, it makes that game 10 times more interesting, and it keeps you up with all the games. That's why I like it personally. It makes me, I can be involved in every single game that's happening and have like an emotional attachment.
Absolutely. I'm right with that. So again, shout out Midnight. Use code Salvation to support us and support the channel. We do appreciate that a lot. And thank you, Midnight, for sponsoring the episode. So with that said, guys, we got a lot to get into. We got some news to talk about. So without further ado, let's get right into the news.
Play it.
The Call of Duty News of the Week.
If any of you audio listeners out there were wondering what just happened, something came out of Sam's soul. I don't know what it was. And it was just like, and right before I pressed the button. So that's what you heard.
We'll see what happens there. Sorry.
But yeah, there's a lot of news to get into today. All right. Let's start off with something pretty hot. I mean, the 4v4 rumors are still swirling. They're abounding in our little notes here. They're abounding. Apparently.
It is a word, by the way. There's no red squiggly under it, so I know it's not.
Wow,
I know
impressive.
it's a word.
Yeah, but they're still swirling. So, I mean, at this point, if the rumors are still swirling, we're going in the end of champs, and the rumors are still coming around here, and like Cold War is just around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot. It feels somewhat legitimate at this point. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on 4v4 and how this could potentially all play out if something like that was to actually happen? What do you give the odds of 4v4 happening at this point? That's really another question that we got to continue updating podcast to podcast.
I think we need a midnight odds here.
Oh, we need some midnight odds, dude.
What are the odds that 4v4 happen?
I like it. I put some bets down. Some little prop bets.
Yeah. Well, okay. So on the whole 4v4 thing, it's one thing if someone was like, hey, 4v4 might happen. Like one person that's involved with CDL. It seems every single pro and every single the org owners that do podcasts are talking Hex.
Like Hex, or like even Nameless and like
Pac-Man
when they're on their podcast, they're not like saying it's false.
No. So there seems to be some level of legitimacy here.
Yeah.
Which is just it's crazy because you think about
why does it make sense?
Just like the amount of, I'm trying to think, it would shake up the whole league. It would.
Right.
I mean, roster mania would be insane.
I mean,
it would be the second
more
roster
insane.
mania of all time.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be more insane than last year because last year's about as unbeatable as you can get.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like second craziest of all time is still saying something. I mean, like Rex, what is the reasoning behind like an organization even like or the COD League trying to make this happen?
I mean, so I think because the vibe out there is that clearly this is a discussion amongst, you're going to imagine the org owners are probably going to have this discussion around a table with the CDL.
Right.
And so if that's, they're saving money possibly with it.
But are they like with salary cap? Unless you're lowering the salary cap because it's 4v4?
I'm not
That's
sure.
the
I feel like
question.
you'd have to talk to Cold, like the Treyarch to see how big are the maps. And so are they built for 4v4 competitive or 5v5 competitive? And I think Treyarch would be able to tell us that.
The thing that I feel like needs to happen though, if you're doing 4v4, it only makes sense with expansion teams.
I know. That's my biggest thing.
It's because you are cutting 12 people from the starting rosters.
And the AM scene's already loaded with talent.
It's huge. So the strangest thing is that it seems like a lot of pros want 4v4 to happen.
The good ones.
But yeah, but they're assuming that they're going to be playing 4v4.
I'd imagine if you're asking, JCap, he's not like, we need 4v4 right now. I mean, probably not. Because, I mean, he's on the fringe of roster spots.
Yeah.
Or like Mox. Mox 100% is a guaranteed once 5v5.
Yeah.
You know?
Which, so, yeah, it could be a mixture of, expansion teams coming in. Maybe they can lower the salary cap, save some money. If they're planning on COVID being around for a while and they're thinking, hey, let's save some, few bucks here and there. But, then again, I don't know. It seems strange without expansion teams.
I agree. I would be really disappointed if it happened and there weren't expansion teams.
It feels so weird. There'd be just the pool of players would just be
puny,
so small.
And think about that, and like not just the amateur scene right now, but there's so many pros on benches right now. You think of Phantoms, even, and the whole bench of Toronto, all the guys on LAG,
Enable,
JCap,
Gunless, Dashy.
Dashy. There's so many guys that don't have a job right now and are banking on next year and potential expansion teams to find that roster for sure. Wow, a lot of guys would be screwed. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. So I would be really, really disappointed. Again, we don't really know at this point. I mean, let's get a temperature update on percentage chance it happens. I'm still not sold it's happening because we've heard no news about expansion teams, and that would be pretty freaking ballsy of the owners in the COD League to decide to go 4v4 with no expansion teams, and we've heard nothing about expansion teams besides the potential. That Rise is interested, but that's the only news we've ever had about expansion teams. So, long story short, what is your percent chance right now, Sam?
45.
Oh, okay. A little bit below 50.
Okay. 45. I mean, I would say 30% chance. Yeah, 30 for me. Yeah.
Okay, really?
It's
weird. I don't think it's going to happen.
Exactly. If it wasn't happening, if it was staying 5v5, the COD League probably would have shut it down by now. There's what? No, this isn't happening.
Yeah.
We're staying 5v5. You'd think they'd come out with some sort of announcement. That's what makes me sway that it might be it might actually be happening.
Yeah,
because they haven't shut down the rumors yet, which is just weird.
Yeah, and it could be a thing where they don't know. They could be still debating.
Maybe the CDL is still debating.
I know
that's possible.
So, yeah,
but you'd think they'd have to have that. I mean, they announced the roster mania schedule, we talked about it last week. So they have to have that out within the next 2 weeks, basically. Not announced. This has to be public knowledge.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
because
we
know with the whole thing with contracts too. They need to know.
Yeah, I mean, if it's 4v4, we're gonna have a lot. We're gonna have a lot to talk about.
Why change it to 4v4 if the orgs are going to be somehow saving money from it?
That's what I don't get.
If they think that
it's more competitive,
that the integrity of the game depends on it being 4v4.
Which, I mean, we've seen 2 years of 5v5 at this point. I don't necessarily think that's...
Black Ops 4 was fine.
I'm not so hard pressed either way. I don't know. Apparently, the older pros seem to be so hard pressed on 4v4. But from a viewership, standpoint, if the maps are made for it,
it's all about the maps. I agree with Rex. Yeah. But it's are we going to change every single year based off the maps?
Yeah,
because we know that. Yeah, we can't. So it's just at some point you got to stick with it. So if they think 4v4 is safer in the long term, then maybe that's what you do.
Yeah.
But I'd be surprised if we go 4v4. I'd give it 35%, 40%. Yeah. But it's rising as every day passes that we get no more news because that is interesting. We'll talk more about that for sure next week in the following podcast because we're going to hear something about this eventually. So
I mean, didn't Treyarch, they're the ones who implemented the 5v5 thing. You think they're going to go back on that now? I don't think so.
But then then again, who has the deciding power? Is it the developer or is it Activision?
And I think it's a CDL.
Yeah.
Yeah, the CDL.
I don't know.
CDL really as a whole. So
I'm not sure. I honestly don't know. All right, next piece of news. I mean, I guess real quickly we need to hit on that Black Ops Cold War is being gameplay revealed on Wednesday, or the trailer, or whatever. They said, as far as we know, Wednesday is the day that we're gonna see something about it and know more. We don't know how much.
Finally, holy
but
cow.
We're finally getting information. Hopefully they announce a beta. That's what we're all hoping for. Is they announce a beta on Wednesday. That's what we're hoping for.
Oh man, you'd so hope.
How about a beta the week after Champs?
Oh.
Please, 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 please. Happy birthday from all of us to you.
This is for sure the longest it's been in that
by far.
Right?
By far.
It's insane that we don't know of any gameplay.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh,
so we'll know more.
I have a feeling it's going to be associated with Champs somehow, and that's why I think they're really going to go into competitive super, super hard with Cold War.
I don't want to get too optimistic. Don't get me excited. Don't get me excited now, man.
Just don't do it.
But we'll talk more about that next week. 100% guaranteed.
Yeah.
All right. Next piece of news. pros are practicing this week. And again, this is a weird time for pros and the teams that are still remaining in the Call of Duty champs. So there's 4 teams left. Spoiler.
Sorry.
And and they have to practice somehow, which is what's really weird is they don't want to practice against each other.
No.
Because they don't want to give their strats away in the final 4 people in champs.
Yeah.
And so pros and AMs, some teams are actually still deciding to practice with these with the last 4 teams.
Yeah.
They must be getting paid in some way.
I know Parasite and his team are getting paid.
Yeah, so I would imagine they're going to do some S&D like money chows, you know, like some type of situation where if you win certain maps or what, you know, you're making money if you win maps.
Yeah.
That's got to be what it is to force teams to try. I would imagine at least. But it is pretty crazy that you're going to be, I mean, there's a lot of money on the line.
Oh, yeah.
You're paying these teams to practice.
No, yeah. And I know Skrapz tweeted out that that they had Dallas and FaZe on the docket for, I think, like he was talking about today, which is, that's strange too, like, because you don't think they'd want to practice against each other, but like the pros, I don't know. It's cool, I guess, if they're willing to practice against, you know, the other pros, but I thought it was going to solely be the 4 teams were going to be paying AMs.
Just AMs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm surprised pros are willing to hop on.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, it's the Ravens too, and Ravens need like that probably higher tier practice to beat the Huntsmen.
That is true. Like, you kind of wonder if like Dallas and FaZe are like, there's no way London's going to, you know, come in. So like, let's practice.
There's no way FaZe and Dallas are like, we're not, how about both of us? Don't scrim the Huntsmen.
Don't scrim the Huntsman.
Deal?
There's like a blacklist against
deal? Don't scrim the Huntsman? Okay, cool.
It could be. I mean, who knows?
You know that's what's going on there.
Yeah.
You know, Crowder texted Rambo like, yo, no Huntsman? Deal. But
crazy.
Yeah, so then there's, as far as we know, there's 4 amateur teams kind of getting scrims in this week.
Yeah.
And getting paid to do it. And like Clay tweeted that they're back to 12 servers, which I'm imagining that probably means that when they're scrimming the AMs, they're not allowed to play on the dedicated servers.
I think so.
I'd imagine, because it seemed like that was only a pro thing.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to say the least. The last piece of news is kind of more of a discussion than anything else. I wanted to hear your guys' opinions on this. So Nameless, and this can kind of transition us into the reaction from champs. Nameless kind of tweeted an interesting take. He said, this is quote unquote, basically I'm saying is you take a lot of these old school top tier players and put them on a team with young talent at champs or in a big tournament and they're going to be frying. In my opinion, you put Looney, Aqua, JCap, Apathy, Enable, even Pat on a solid squad. Their output at champs will be elite.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, man. What's your guys' thoughts on that? Rex, lead the way.
So, I mean, here's my issue with it. It's like, yeah, that might be true, but if they can't do it during the regular season, does it matter? Like, how can you just trust that? They have to be able to carry their own weight. And granted, I think some of these players did, some didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we've seen that to be.
It also depends on like how cracked the player is. But like if we're just saying like young talent, like you're throwing 4 amateur players on a team with a veteran, then of course it's like no. So yeah, it's kind of like an obvious tweet, kind of like duh. I mean, where you at with it?
Yeah,
but they still have to do okay during the regular season. That's the thing,
right?
Yeah, I guess like if you're taking that tweet as an overall, like,
was he tweeting about OpTic? Like,
yeah, I bet
you put
so.
Slasher with, but like Slasher's literally nasty on his own.
I mean, what names did he say? He said Looney's not playing.
Looney, Aqua, JCap, App, Enable, even Pat.
App is the odd one out there because he's playing. And well, I mean, and Aqua's playing, I guess. But like, yeah, it was weird that he said Aqua and App, but like they're playing. So I don't know.
Yeah, like, you know, if you take it as an overall, like about, because, you know, like there's always the age debate, right? You know, like,
right.
It seems like now, you know, you get past 23.
But obviously that's not the case.
No, like
Clayster's nasty still.
Yeah.
I mean, well, all things considered.
Clayster.
Not as nasty, but yeah.
Yeah. Clayster, you know, Scump is going off right now in champs.
Yeah. Scump dominated against FaZe.
Yeah. If you're talking about strictly like young versus old, I even quoted a tweet though. It seems to be more about the change in your motivation,
Your mentality.
As you get older.
And your practice.
When you're young, 18, 19, you can take a lot of financial loss and
life loss.
Life loss and just play Call of Duty.
Yeah.
When you get up in age, I think that's when you start seeing pros. That's why you see pros, deteriorate a little bit. Is because they realize, oh crap,
I'm getting engaged.
I'm starting to, have the kids, whatever it is. And if they're not seeing the money from the time that they're putting in at that point, they gotta have a career change path.
Or if they just inherently just don't love the game as much.
Exactly.
Like that's all it has to do with it. And I agree with that.
Yeah.
Like I think it was kind of a dumb statement overall.
Yeah, it was weird. Like in the context you put it, if it was more like a generalization against like young versus old players, but like it seems weird that he's talking about like you're guaranteed to like have output at champs with old players.
Like if you swap Slasher for JCap, like it'll be just fine.
That's definitely not the case.
Yeah, no.
So
definitely not.
That would ever be the case.
Like if you tell me that if you swapped out Major Maniac for JCap, FaZe would be just as good. No way.
No.
No.
So I think he had something in his head that he was trying to get out, and it just did not come out like the way he thought it would.
Yeah, I think so.
But
he also wanted to stand up for
it
his
is
friends.
What
it is. It is what it is.
Playing.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it is an interesting topic. Again, I think there's still a world where like JCap can be a good player. I mean, obviously he didn't like Modern Warfare. I mean, at the end of the day, that's a tough hurdle to get over.
Yes.
And a lot of the pros dealt with that. They're like, I hate this game,
but
I'm not good at it, and I just don't want to play it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: you just can't just not be good. Like JCap was atrocious. Like he's a pro. You just can't be that bad. You can hate the game.
Oh,
dude, we
man.
are never getting JCap.
Be that guy.
JCap, man, if you want to come on the show and defend yourself, I mean, come on, man.
Oh man,
we got you.
No, we have burnt that bridge.
Nah, dude, he can't even deny. He was playing bad. Like he was just doing terrible. It was not helping his team.
He had his moments, bro. There was like a Ramaza hardpoint where he like had like 30 plus kills and positive KD.
Don't get me wrong, JCap was good in his day. Like Black Ops 3, clearly he won, and like he has, I guess, the right mentality to win things. But like, if you're gonna be a pro, like, you just can't have a flop like that. Like that was a really bad flop.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Abezy didn't do that. Like, you just can't do it.
I feel that. But we got a lot to talk about today, so we should probably get into this reaction.
Probably.
So without further ado, let's get into the reaction.
Trash. Garbage.
Back at it again. Alrighty, boys. There's a lot to talk about here. I mean, we're going to react to basically like 5 days of Call of Duty action, which was, I think, overall pretty interesting.
It was
First
crazy.
off, I think we should talk about like the scheduling, the format, and what you guys think, and like what we think of this format as a whole. I mean, where are you at with it, Rex?
I mean, I think for online champs, what we did, like, I'm honestly okay with it. I thought this is fine. I think I've said this before. I liked the original format where I think it was like the top 8 teams only got to go.
Yeah, and then they played a full tournament.
And they played like a full tournament. I would have preferred that. But for what it was, and like with Corona and online and everything, like this was, I'm okay with it. I liked it.
Yeah. I think like the biggest debate off the rip is like, do you feel like from a viewer perspective, was it fair at this point for FaZe to play one match, Empire to play one match, and find themselves in the top 3? And like I saw like, JCap and Looney were talking about it. I think a few other guys were talking about how dumb that is. Maybe Slasher tweeted about it too, potentially. Maybe. I can't remember. Yeah. But like, I mean, Sam, like, what do you think about that?
I am of the opinion, I think it would be way more fun. Like you think of March Madness, you got every team going in with, on the same playing field, but you're rewarded with the higher seed. I think that your reward for playing well in the regular season should be playing against the lowest seed. Like, FaZe.
Right. If you reseeded this tournament and you have FaZe playing LAG, then you have Empire playing Paris.
Yeah. Like that should be enough of a like
advantage.
You
think?
But like, I guess it comes down to, I would have liked to see every team have the same chance, and like that would have created maybe more storylines, maybe more,
maybe not
something. But I I get it. Like I can see where
they were put in a tough spot.
Yeah. So
what's the point of the regular season then, man? Like.
In your format, yeah, it is less. The regular season is definitely less weighted.
Well,
in your
absolutely,
format.
But like, again, like you're getting more money playing better in the regular season, and then you get the best seed possible in the champs. I don't know. I think that's like a great format, and you're rewarded.
Because like in that format, you still wouldn't play the number 2 or the number 3 seed till the third round.
Yeah,
because you would play the number 11. Like if you're FaZe, you play the number 12 seed. Then you play what, like the 5-6?
Mm-hmm.
I think the winner of the 5-6 maybe.
Yeah.
Am I? I don't know. Winner 5-6, and then you'd play like the third or second seed.
Yeah.
In theory.
Yeah. It's just like, and the thing too is like you only get to see, say your favorite team is FaZe or Dallas, you get to see them play 3 games. Like don't you want to see them play a ton too?
Right. That is a factor. You know, like in a world where the Huntsmen were the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
They would have played. They could have played one match, and
the
CoD League doesn't get a benefit from the Huntsmen playing. Luckily, it worked out for the CoD League where they can have the Huntsmen play.
It seems more hype with a full bracket and everyone starts at the same place, but you're seeded based off your regular season. But everyone's got their opinion. That's my opinion.
No. Take a stand.
My opinion's right.
I mean, it's an okay. Like, yeah. I mean, I can. Yeah, like I get behind it. I mean, you already know. I like to put more weight into like the regular season, so the regular season matters to me. I don't want to see an Evil Geniuses run like we did in World War II. I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
Like I know some people like that and like think it's hyped that all these underdogs. Like, no, I want to see the teams that have been consistently good and put in that time earn their spot at champs,
Yeah. I mean, maybe, like they try to find a balance between the two where they had like, the top 8 seeds were rewarded with not being in losers off the rip, which maybe that would have been in itself with your theory enough. Maybe you just do that. Maybe you only do that. And then that's still pretty advantageous. Yeah. I mean, it gives you an automatic first round win.
Yeah. Or even do where you have the bottom 4 teams not even make it, but then the top 8 teams
just playing a normal bracket.
Play a normal bracket. Then that in and of itself is like you get into champs, and that would put a lot of weight in the regular season too.
Right. I mean, again, I think that's the best bet, and I think that's the future where COD's trying to go. It's just that Corona just screwed it all up.
Absolutely.
So I think overall, worst case, like with the scenario we had, I actually really liked it. I mean, it ended up giving us some epic matches. So format wise, when it comes to the viewership experience, I thought it was pretty good. But again, I'm not really a fan of any specific team. And it probably was kind of annoying to only watch Empire or FaZe for one match if you're a fan of those teams. Yeah. So I could see that.
Yeah.
But okay, let's talk about the beginning of the series a little bit here with the struggles at the beginning. I want to talk a little bit about the lag out situation and then the pre-recorded matches situation. So obviously, I imagine all of you viewers out there already know what we're talking about here. But basically, beginning of this tournament, we had some major problems. Kenny got DDoS twice in both hard points in the LAG series, and then he couldn't connect. And Dashy, the super sub, came in for game 5 in Piccadilly, and ice in his veins. Had like 9 kills in the series, played great, and cool OpTic clutched up. It was an awesome moment in Cod Champs. Yeah. And the fact that OpTic ended up going on a run kind of like even makes it cooler. But and then the next day, then Zero got DDoSed.
Yeah.
In a hard point, and they had to forfeit, ended up losing, and that was the game-winning map.
Yes.
Which eliminated London from the winner, or knocked them down from the winner's bracket down to the loser's bracket. And but then they went on a run. So maybe getting DDoSed is the key to going on a run.
It just makes you so angry.
Yeah.
That
Raven just got so upset from that. I think it fueled that fire, man.
Yeah.
It may have done it.
I mean, what are your thoughts on the lag outs and the situation, how it was handled, and like with the pre-recorded matches? Rex?
At first I was like, I wasn't a fan of the pre-recorded matches, and especially when they had the whole leaks at the beginning of like,
I
was just so mad, dude.
I was like, is this now the issue? And the fact that like they didn't tell any of the fans, their plan was just to scamaz us and just be like, no, this is live, totally live.
Yeah.
Well, when it wasn't, it was just like, but I understand why they did that, because just to really minimize the DDoSing as much as possible, took no risk. They're not telling anybody, But otherwise, I honestly was okay with it. The players were good about not leaking.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing.
Yeah, so I was okay with that.
Yeah. What, like, didn't even like Slasher not know, like, because like I feel like he tweeted out if they started pre-recording, that's like a huge like slap in the face to London or whoever it was.
Maybe at first they didn't know.
Maybe at first I don't know, but yeah, that would have been interesting if like they never said anything about it. Right. It was like, were they trying to pull off that it was
just
live?
Got leaked and just got
just like, what?
It was just like,
I know, it was even worse. It was so bad. Oh gosh.
Yeah, when I like saw like the first 2 map wins when it was Huntsmen and Subliners, I think was like the first pre-recorded or whatever. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, come on. But
of course it's the Huntsmen that get the first pre-recorded match. Huntsmen had to take 0 risk.
Oh, I know. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no, I thought it was good. Again, like if you force the pros to not say anything and it helps with the DDoSing, I'm okay with it. But what you can't have happen is the dang website leaking every map 10 minutes prior to being played. Like that's terrible.
They ended up just disabling the website's like map count because they're like, this is so bad. Yeah. But I don't know. It definitely sucked. At the end of the day, I really didn't mind. Like you said, Rex, like we're all the viewers were at the same point watching at the same time, so it's like it didn't really feel any different. And with it being online, like if it was on LAN and then you saw fans tweeting about it and it was pre-recorded, that would be obnoxious as it gets.
That'd be horrible.
But because no pro tweeted about it, nobody tweeted about it, no one had any idea, I was totally fine with it. So honestly, why not? Just keep it up.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It'll just be weird that when somebody wins $1.5 million, that those people will know,
they
like,
can't say.
an hour, maybe like an hour before us.
I know.
That's pretty crazy. Maybe more than that.
Yeah.
So it is wild overall. So, all right. Teams wise, I mean, I don't know if you just want to go like through some of the teams here and start from the bottom. Let's start with the teams that got eliminated first.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, Seattle. Let's talk about LAG off the rip here.
Yeah.
Rex, choose which team you want to start off first and lead the way.
I guess Seattle versus Paris. I thought if Seattle was going to win a series, it was going to be against Paris. They did not. They got 3-0'd, and I think no one can ever say that they had potential because they just didn't, apparently. They just lost.
Yeah, not with this roster.
They just lost everything all the time.
It's so sad because that's literally where the conversation ends, is they just didn't win.
They lost.
I mean, there was nothing to say. They've consistently lost all year.
After the whole season, all the potential they had, they lost.
I know. So, it's just like all year we're trying to hype them up. I'm like, what? They're still. Look at those players. They could be so good. And
every single time, yeah. And then going into champs, it was like you got these pro players who
they're gonna start grinding.
They start grinding. It's like there must have been some deep seated like things that were wrong.
Understanding of this game.
Like what in the world?
You cannot convince me that they gave up. You don't just lose 0-3 to Paris. Like, let's be honest. Like, come on.
Yeah, I just don't know how they don't see any improvement pretty much all year. Like they flatlined from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, what does that tell you about the team? I mean, like, is that a player issue? Is that just like them as a team just not really?
I don't know.
Is the veterans just knowing that they don't have a chance?
I have a hard time believing that the individual players weren't capable.
That's what I'm. Yeah.
There's no way that those players didn't have the.
Were they just not bought into each other? Like, did the veterans never believe in Proto and Pander? Pander and Proto never believed that the veterans really cared at all anyway.
Maybe Octane never believed in any of his teammates, so
Octane never
he
believed.
Was just stat padding the whole time.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I guess there's a lot of different. I would love to hear more about like what they think that core five, how they never got better.
Because here's the thing, they all keep saying that no one knows what's going on and that there was something way more.
And there's no problem with the organization.
It's like,
there's no problem with.
Then what was it?
And what was the problem? And they said it's not Joey Nubsy's fault. It's not Nubsy's fault. It was ours. But like, okay, well, what?
It was just like
they gave up, and they're gonna say we didn't give up. We kept scrimming. Yeah, you kept scrimming, but you gave 50% in everything. Like,
and yeah, I mean, and maybe they did care going into champs, but not caring for the whole year eventually catches up with you.
Yeah, like when you have no passion up until one event,
it's gonna catch up to you. It's gonna catch up with you. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, we are gonna be talking, I'm sure, a lot about this roster heading into roster mania because there's going to be changes. I mean, obviously. And 4v4 will be interesting for them and maybe a blessing for Seattle because it seems like they're struggling to get a full 5. Really struggling. So maybe overall it might be advantageous for them if it ends up going 4v4. Who knows? All right. We'll talk more about them next week. I guarantee that. Let's talk about LAG then. I mean, LAG, they caught a near break.
They did.
Almost the break of the century with 2 DDoSes to OpTic Gaming. But then the whole COD League was rooting for every person in the world was rooting for OpTic Gaming at that point. The villains became the heroes. You live long, you live long enough to see yourself become the hero.
Seriously.
In the OpTic situation here.
No joke.
But I mean, what do you think about this LAG roster at this point? I mean, they flashed for that one event when they brought Saints back.
Yeah.
And they kept that roster the rest of the way through. And I thought maybe they'll be able to find something. And they never did. They flashed for that one event and never showed anything ever again.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what is up with that?
Yeah. Gosh. Yeah. I don't know. What's interesting too is I honestly think going back to the beginning, when Aches, Lacefield, and Saints, right? All 3. Well, Aches was for sure like booted, but then the 2 just left, right?
And like we're like, we don't want to play.
Yeah. It would have been interesting to see if it was just Aches who got dropped, and like maybe Blast just comes in. I thought that could have been a pretty good roster with Lacefield and Saints all the way through. But in regards to their performance, I thought there was something there when they almost beat FaZe, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it just
it never came together.
They beat Huntsmen at one point.
Yes.
It just never came together.
Yeah.
And like, we saw the S&D prowess in the middle of the year where Vivid was playing really, really well in S&D and like we were like, oh wow, there's something here.
Yeah.
But then like it never really came back. And like we thought we might eventually see Vivid transform and like develop into like a really, really dominant player.
Yeah.
And like Decimate had his moments, Blast had his moments, Aqua had his moments throughout the year.
Yes.
And then like it just like never really worked.
Yeah.
It was just weird season for LAG overall. I mean, if you had to put your money on which players stay on this team, who is playing on LAG next year that's currently on the roster?
Oh,
Vivid?
Man.
I would say
Aqua?
Vivid.
You've got to say the players that were AMs going into this year, like, because like they don't want to lose that spot, right? So like you think Vivid,
I mean, really,
maybe Blast, but Blast was, I don't know. Like, do you think these players are scared if they leave, they're done?
right? And like, where's LAG's management at with things?
Yeah.
Like, do they want to go all in on different players now? Like, it's interesting. That whole roster could be completely different.
I think it's going to be a complete rework, to be honest.
It could be.
It's very possible.
Considering like I feel like they built that roster around Aches to begin
and then
with,
they released him.
and then they released him. So it's like
the only player to get released.
Yeah. So that whole roster was pretty much built around, a player that's not even there anymore. So I don't know. That will be an interesting roster mania too. That's for sure.
Yeah. So it was just a straight up disappointing season for LAG at the end of the year. They just showed no flashes. I mean, they kept it a little bit closer in the series. I mean, the S&Ds were close. And like, they always looked competent in S&D throughout the year, but like, I don't know, there wasn't much there at the end of the day.
Yeah.
All right, let's move forward. Let's talk about the Minnesota choker. I mean, the Rokkr. Oh, whoops.
Oh no.
I mean, it was a tough series, or a tough 2 series for the Rokkr. I mean, they had so many chances, man. They had so many chances and just came up just short multiple times throughout the year. Obviously, Exceed was in the starting lineup, and it didn't go their way. Rex, what are your thoughts about the Rokkr?
Exceed impressed me, honestly. I thought he played pretty well for what he was kind of thrown into. And again, and I think I've said this before, Asim had to be better. He just has to be better, and he wasn't.
He had a rough go, man.
Yeah, a rough one. But even
breaking news on the podcast,
Asim wasn't doing great.
I have breaking news on the podcast, Rex. We have some breaking news. I don't have a breaking news button.
Okay,
but the domination spawn glitch has been patched. Breaking news as of right now.
I'm so confused. Okay, yeah, nice.
So they have patched the domination spawn glitch.
Okay.
Breaking news on the podcast.
Gotcha. Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great to
We
hear.
never had breaking news before, so I thought it'd be
Breaking
fun.
news.
Breaking
It's Dash,
news.
boys. No more Dom, which is for champs. It's great.
I know. For the finals, thank goodness.
Cool.
But yeah, ASIM was not great. He had to be better. I personally believe they should have put Exceed in for ASIM and kept GodRx. And ASIM went single digits in his last map at champs.
That was really tough.
It was domination, and it was like
9-27,
9 and
25,
I think, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
It
I can't
was
remember.
Really bad.
Yeah, I mean, GodRx gets paid because
GodRx
they went out
paid.
too.
But Exceed was
Yeah.
great. I honestly thought Exceed could keep his spot, to be honest. I hope he doesn't
Yeah.
get dropped. He played really well for what he was thrown into. He kept up, I think, with everybody.
What about Silly? What do you think about? Is Silly just name alone keep him on that team?
I mean, everyone likes Silly though.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like like we said all year, he's the heart of the team. It never felt like he could get dropped.
He's
Yeah.
the leader. He's the moral leader of that team. So I honestly
Yeah,
feel
I
like
mean-
Silly is almost necessary for that team, I think.
Yeah, that's the
Just
biggest
for that
thing.
reason.
Like, do you wonder if Alex stays around? I mean, Alex at the beginning of the year was so good,
Mm-hmm.
and then by the end of the year, he never really showed that flash again.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you can debate whether that was because of online. You can debate because that was because teams figured out the Rokkr.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I if I had to put my money on it, I said this in the video today, but I thought that probably I would imagine like Silly and Alex are on the team next year, but I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. It's hard to say.
You could say like Silly, Alex, and Assault could be like the
Assault.
core three.
Yeah,
right?
Assault could still be there for sure.
But
You don't think they'll... What happens to GodRx?
I mean,
He's
there's
still
no
on
way
the
GodRx
team.
wants to play
I
with
was gonna
them
say, do you
anymore.
think GodRx wants to be on that team anymore?
Not with them. I'm sure he
I
wants to
don't
be on the
know.
Rokkr, but not with those guys.
I mean...
screwed him.
Maybe not with those guys, but are other teams going to take him?
I don't know.
Where's his stock at? Nobody knows.
I know.
They might prioritize his LAN performance over his online performance, though.
I mean, if the whole team is kind of making the excuse,
Yeah.
like, yo, nothing personal, we just online ruined us.
Yeah.
Maybe
Mhm.
it's possible.
yeah, I don't know.
If anything, I feel like they'll get rid of Exceed and bring GodRx back and maybe get it a second try.
On the new game, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I totally agree with that. I thought Exceed was great. I want to see more of Exceed, to be honest. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
I think he'll get a shot at least in the offseason. Well, unless it goes 4v4, then you might be in trouble.
Yeah.
With every AM would be. But yeah, the Rokkr, again, roster mania should be interesting for them. They were so close on multiple times. They lost to New York because of like that insanely close hard point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hard point? Was that against New York? Was that against... No, that was against New York, right? Where they lost like 250 to 248.
That may have been New York, yeah.
I can't remember. I don't have it pulled up right in front of me right now. But
250
anyway,
to 244 was against Mutineers. Well, no, and Rokkr won that hard point.
oh no, that was against New York then. They lost 250 to
250
248.
to 248 with Subliners. They lost game 4.
Yeah. That was a crazy hackney. Because Attach had like the 2-piece inside P1.
Mm-hmm.
But like they just choked over and over, and then they had that, and then the Mutineers choked against the Rokkr, and it was just crazy overall. But man, tough stuff for the Minnesota Rokkr, the Minnesota Chalker.
No.
So unfortunate.
It's tough, man. I don't want them to be dubbed the Chalker / the
I
Choker,
know.
but it definitely came to play in this tournament overall.
So
So
much potential.
all right, I mean, we just mentioned the Mutineers. They got eliminated.
Man, Gen G.
Gen G 2.0,
Yeah.
the Mutineers.
Rough.
Welcome, everyone.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy because I think everyone, well, during their peak, I think everyone would have said they were by far the best team
Yeah,
in the game.
they won back-to-back tournaments, then they lost back-to-back matches to get eliminated.
Mhm.
Poetic.
So it's crazy.
They
It
won
is.
one map out of those back-to-back. They only won one map.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing. Like, who would have thought that, going into champs?
Mhm.
I mean, the question is, like, what happened?
Mhm. There's some theories.
There are some theories from Theory
Yes.
himself. I mean, Theory tweeted during Theory, like the TK player from World War II, Theory. He's been around for a while. he was like, "Yo, was this the kill cam glitch coming to play? That's not a thing anymore. You know, is that why Florida's not looking as good anymore?"
That would have been interesting.
I mean, everyone was kind of suspecting, and there was rumors around that whole Florida team all year.
Right.
So maybe they weren't so unfounded. Like everyone was suspicious of something.
Yeah, Pharaoh pretty strongly like neglected those rumors though. You know, he was like, "Nah, dude, don't." You know, like he seemed like he was pretty confident in that they weren't using it. But
but how would
maybe
you
he's just
know
covering
who is or who isn't? You know,
I know.
You know,
that will like always be like what's unfortunate is like that will always be a question as who was,
and it'll all be on their consciences.
Yeah.
They'll know.
But so that you know,
but I don't know. Other teams, when I just caught up, Ultra clearly was starting to look really strong, and that's who they lost to. So it's like okay, but then OpTic, went on their tear. OpTic moved to Dallas for this, and OpTic, OpTic looked. They easily could have, TJ easily could have won that one-on-one against Envoy.
Yeah.
Like it could have gone either way with that gunfight.
Yeah, and like with like going back to Florida, like maybe you're seeing too, like in Awakening kind of getting nervous a little bit, and
it's possible. And the young guys, I mean, really, all of them are young.
Yeah, so this could just be a thing where they just don't have the same composure that a long-standing pro has.
I mean, it's what we were talking about last week, and like we were talking about it with the predictions. Is that like at the end of the day at Champs, you put a little bit more faith in the tiebreaker of the predictions is the veterans versus the AMs, or the younger guys, not the AMs, but the younger guys. And generally the veterans are the ones that come in clutch at Champs, and we saw that this year for sure.
Absolutely,
for sure.
Yeah.
And you look at the top 4 teams that are left, and like they're stacked with veterans. So it's like at the end of the day, the veterans are the ones that come to play. I mean, FaZe is the only one you can debate, but like they have COD champions on their team, so it's like if you want to counter my point with a team that has 2 COD champions on it, go ahead.
Their players are really, really confident in themselves, more than everybody else is probably.
Just disgusting players.
Yeah, exactly. So it is interesting. That is, I think, a factor for sure. And like just the meta in itself, like people, it might have just caught up to them with the AR metas that they were running earlier on. And teams were like, wait, this is a good idea. Let's try it. And like you saw teams running up to 4 ARs on, Cave. And they lost Cave, so it's like, it is what happens. And like they weren't as dominant on Dom as they were in the past. And like you thought for sure, like, all right, this is the Dom map. The Mutineers are going to win this thing. And they weren't. So teams were figuring out what they were doing, and definitely the meta changed. So I think that's a big part of it for sure in the long term. But I don't know. What team do you want to talk about next? We need to go a little bit faster so we make sure we have enough time to go into our predictions.
Paris, woo! I'm glad they made it past the first round, made the second round, got some money. They took a map off the Ravens. There's also all that drama with it, but apparently that got squashed and nobody cheated in their game.
Yeah, the drama going into it was that Paris threatened to use the spawn glitch, or they threatened to use the Dom spawn glitch, and they threatened to use ATS, and then I think maybe then the London threatened to use ATS if they use the spawn glitch.
Skrapz was saying like we're for sure using ATS. I'm like, oh jeez.
And then it sounded like maybe the AN94 was going to come out.
Maybe, but then they must have got some sense into them and not done them.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know. That's all coming from the mouth of Wuskins, right?
Yeah.
There's no real proof that Legion said those. Like Legion might have thought he was just joking and just said it back or something. I'm not sure, but
who knows?
I mean, Legion, and then also the whole Zed thing and this Surge match.
The spawn glitch and the spawn Surge.
Glitch. I mean, there are some things out there saying that he didn't actually do it and the timing was correct for it.
Yeah, I'm not convinced he actually used it. I don't know.
I don't know.
Obviously, London was convinced they did.
Well, London, was real tilted from their match with Ultra because they lagged out when they probably could have won that map.
So they were about to get lagged out from a match and then go down to losers and play against guys who were breaking GAs. They were just tilted off the rip.
They were angry.
I mean, I like Paris. Does the team stick together?
I would be shocked.
No way.
No pun
They'll
intended.
keep some players, but I don't think they're gonna rearrange the whole team.
I would imagine Den stays, and after that, it could. Who knows?
Yeah.
Zed did pretty good at Champs, didn't he?
He did. Yeah.
Zed'll stay. I don't know who they switch up. I mean, Paris is probably not a rich
Luka.
team, so you can't imagine
There's just
they're gonna
no
get some
like.
crazy names.
There's no like pizzazz to that team.
Oh no.
There was no one that was like, man, this guy could carry.
I don't know.
Or like,
at the beginning of the year, you thought, okay, maybe so. When Kismet started playing really well, but by the end, dude, there was no pizzazz on that team. Yeah.
But they weren't the worst team. Like,
no,
they could have beat Guerillas when they played. They did beat
Seattle, of course.
So.
Oh yeah, they'd be competitive with any of the middle tier teams for sure.
And they got
for sure.
second, right? Like, at a tournament. So,
which is debatable whether or not they were doing spotting glitch or not. Who knows? I mean, hard to say.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, exactly. I agree with you. They were an interesting team. It'll be fun to see if they end up picking up any of the European AMs moving into Roster Mania. And like, they're obviously one of the teams to watch when it comes to picking up some of these war guys, Singularity guys, and how that could potentially play out. Yeah. So I am very excited.
Paris just picks up all of war. See what happens.
That is definitely possible.
Why not?
Definitely possible. So they're a team to watch out for when it comes to that, for sure. So let's talk about
Ultra.
The Ultra.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ultra looked really, really, really strong. I was skeptical of them coming off the Toronto homestand because they clearly did the minimap glitch, I think. I was like, maybe that's why they won. Like, this is crazy. But then when they showed up at Champs, I was like, they were scary. They were really scary. I wasn't sure anybody was going to stop them.
Empire, and they hit that Empire wall.
Then they hit that Empire wall. Empire beat them.
And then they got the revenge from the Ravens.
Yeah.
So they got kind of like honestly, like I feel like if the Subliners clutch up in that London match, if something goes their way and they clutch up and somehow win, I feel like Ultra beat Subliners.
Yeah,
right?
I do too. Ultra was so strong. But
it was pretty. Yeah,
they got taken down.
I was like kind of convinced, like, man, these guys probably going to be like in the top 3, top 4.
Yeah.
But
I thought for sure they were going to be.
Yeah, but what's crazy, like, beginning of the year and like even midway, they were like talks of like bottom 4, bottom 3 team, right?
Yeah.
They just weren't looking good at all. And then talk about a rise to, rise up.
I mean, again, it's just so interesting that they use the 10 roster spots, like, and really go deep. They went like, what, 8 men deep this year?
I think so. They never used Brack, and they never used
9. Did they go 9? They went 9.
Was it just Brack that didn't get a shot?
I'd have to go check to make sure, but like the lack of more AR meta, basically screwed him over because Methods was playing so well.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, like, I don't know. Do you think another team would potentially, going into Roster Mania, is there a world where another team tries the strategy, signing the low tier 50K? Like they sign all of Team War, and then they go sign the next 3 best European AMs they can find. Go 8 men deep.
You gotta have money for that. Ultra is a team that has money, so they're like, we could just drop it on these players and do that. And especially when they built a team that maybe they weren't so sure. So like, we're just going to get a bunch of players and throw things in like together and eventually we'll land on something.
Yeah.
And I can't, knock them for it because clearly it worked. I'm really impressed.
Oh, Mayhem never got a shot, did he?
Mayhem.
He never got a shot.
But yeah, I was so impressed with them. I still believe they should be in that final 4. But Ravens just started going on a tear and had a vendetta. Ravens played
it's wild. It's wild. Yeah, I mean, they're a fun team to watch. They're a team that I just have no clue how Roster Mania will play out. Does Kleenex stay? What happens with Classic? What happens with Bance? Like, I'd imagine Cammy and Methods stay. And it seems like they want to play together. Like, I feel like Cammy and Methods will stay together. And then I feel like Kleenex will want to stay together. So does Classic and Bance stay? That's the biggest question. And what happens if it's 4v4? Like, how does that play out? So there are
this could
the
be
amount of Roster Mania
most insane roster mania.
Outrageous.
Just truly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Coming off these, it just depends on how the contracts work out, too. So, I don't know. I mean, any other thoughts about Toronto before we talk about the Subliners?
No.
Nope. I got no more.
All right, Subliners. Wow. This is disappointing. Yeah.
That's
disappointing. That's it.
That is so tough, man. I mean, they lost to the guy that they dropped. That can't feel good. That can't feel good.
Bad.
That feels gotta feel really bad.
But they dropped it for Mac Melts. Like, right? Like how you can't deny that.
Yeah. I mean, but you look back on the season and they won one tournament. The only tournament they really played well at was the 9mm meta for one tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an online tournament. I mean, when you look back on the season, it's got to be a season of just kind of disappointment, right?
I think so. Yeah. You really only saw.
I mean, they had a little bit of a glow up, and they established themselves as like a middle of the pack team at least. So
yeah, they were at least scary. Like they could at any time.
Oh, I mean, yeah. They pushed the Huntsmen to the brink.
Yeah, they could at any time beat probably any of the top teams.
But not if the top teams were playing their best CoD.
No. Yeah. So yeah, it really wasn't like the season was just average.
Yeah.
If not below average.
It's just again, it's just like you have temp, you have accuracy, you have attached Zuma. Mac. Like, how does that roster not figure it out?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just another year where a temp team underperforms at champs.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
you gotta
look at
start thinking what the common denominator is here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not saying Temp's a bad player, but clearly something is not working. That, and he's the common denominator
in the big moments. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is weird, yeah, because like you've got some talent on that team, like true raw talent,
and like veterans who shouldn't be like overthrown by the moment.
No, and they just never really quite pull together.
Yeah. I don't know. They were a roster I always felt like they were just so close the whole year.
Yeah. So
close. And they won the one event. Good for them. The meta changed right back after the GAs, which it was a GA. It was because of GAs that the event that event happened. It wasn't because of a game change.
Mm-hmm.
It was just GAs. And so like that's why it just feels a little iffy to me on the season as a whole. But I don't know, man. It's gonna be tarred and tarnished looking back on it, to say the least. So, all right, let's talk about the last two teams here. OpTic's the last team that we have to talk about before the final four teams.
Yeah.
OpTic looked really good. So impressed.
Texas.
Yeah, seriously.
So this is where we have to have the internet debate, all right? Before we even talk about the roster and how this roster now, I think it all changed all of our opinions about this roster heading into Roster Mania. It completely changes things. I mean, the online debate, they moved. 4 of them were in Texas for this event. And Kenny looked amazing.
Right.
And like Slasher played a really good event as well. They were a threat against everybody they played. Again, they beat Guerillas basically 3-0. Basically. Then they beat Rokkr 3-0. Then they beat the Mutineers 3-0. And then they lost round 11 game 5 to the Huntsmen to go top 4. Like that's about as freaking good of a tournament as you could have.
Definitely.
Right. I mean, yeah, it was a crazy run. How much do we give to internet? I mean, I think internet breathed new life into them going to Dallas, I would say. I mean, Slasher definitely looked good while he was in LA at times when Kenny and TJ looked terrible. And I think they just had kind of a losing mindset when they were in LA. They're just like, it's internet, and that's what they chalked it up to. And in a way,
the effort level drops.
Didn't want to try so much. They moved to Texas, and they're like, oh, we're on good internet now. It just gives them like that
confidence,
that confidence to win.
I mean, Tej looked like a literally different human.
I was trying to say, was this his first tournament where he was sniping in S&D?
But yes, and Tej, I mean, he must have just been at his house though. I actually don't know where Tej lives.
I don't know where TJ was either.
But
he was where he normally was.
Why wasn't he sniping the whole season?
Dashy.
No, that's true.
TJ, I gotta apologize to TJ. I've been kind of knocking on him before, but
I mean, he's definitely struggled this season.
He definitely struggled all regular season. Like, you just can't deny it. But at Champs, he definitely showed up. He
had his best event of the year.
Yeah, he was crazy good. It's just, man, you got to do that during the regular season so you don't have to make this crazy run. You might have made it to finals. So
here's the thing, too. If Kenny and TJ play like that all year long, does Dashy get dropped?
Well, no, because, exactly.
Could you imagine, though?
Well, did Hollow and Draza play a part in enabling TJ and Kenny to play well?
Right, and that's the debate.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of factors. I know a lot of people are pointing just at the internet, and they're like, look at this. The whole season's completely chalked.
Yeah.
This means literally nothing because OpTic just dominated.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, there's a lot more to it than just the internet. And again, for most of the matches this year, even Slasher said, I mean, a lot of the matches were pretty fair. Like, he said that. Like, some of the matches are totally fair. But there's certain teams that they play. Like, he said the Rokkr, he said the Huntsmen, he said
Dallas,
New York, and Dallas.
Dallas,
like
for sure.
The 4 teams that like he feels like he gets so screwed against because the internet is so bad. And like you go there, they smoke the Mutineers. You know, they smoked the Rokkr, who they had just lost to in scrims multiple days before that. And that was the whole drama with Exceed, where Exceed tweeted out like, "Yo, like, you know, basically being cocky after he was like, they won like what 6-0 in scrims or something."
Yeah, some. Yeah.
And that was when Tej and the whole team literally tweeted him like, "Shut the F up."
The whole team was just like, "Shut up."
Yeah. And like Draza tweeted at him like 3-0, like, go, you know what?
You know what? I respect the fire out of Exceed though, because he's a new guy coming into the scene. And he has to play at Champs for his first event.
Right.
I mean, granted, he played at one event before, but he was just a sub and literally had no practice or anything. So he had a terrible showing. And now they're throwing him in again at Champs. So like, if he doesn't perform, it's like, where's his career? But he went balls to the walls. Like, I'm just gonna be so cocky that like people are gonna remember me, and we do. And he played well at Champs. Like, he played well at Champs. You can't take that away from him.
Yeah. So it is interesting.
So strange though.
But I mean, like when it comes to OpTic, like, okay, again, the team's interesting. Going into Roster Mania, I would expect Kenny, Slasher, and Tej to stay together. The question is, Draza, Hollow, where did they play out? I mean, Draza had a great event. Hollow had a solid event as well. I mean, if you're OpTic, do you stick with this team?
It's for sure up to Slasher. It's up to Slasher.
It's up to Slasher.
It is up to Slasher. I hope they do keep the team. I think Hollow and Draza were thrown into such a bad like situation, and they rebounded as a team.
Yeah.
And so I hope they stay. I want to see these new players in, especially when these players decide that they can stick it out and everything. I don't know. I like it.
How cool would it be though to see Slasher, Kenny, TJ, and Gunless?
Oh, I mean, if it goes 4v4 and they bring Gunless
That'd
in,
be so sick.
I'd be so about it.
Yeah, that would be nuts.
That's a scary 4 when you look at them together. You know, that'd be lit. I'm down for that. But yeah, that's the question. 4v4, what happens to Dashy?
Yeah.
You know, does Dashy find his way back to the Huntsman somehow?
Yeah.
You know, like,
honestly,
who knows?
it's like it's gonna be on Slasher, and then he'll pick based on who he thinks is willing to grind and who can take criticism.
Yeah.
If Draza and Hollow were causing a little bit of issues, like not willing to listen,
he doesn't see the potential with them in a full season.
Then he won't mess with them.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. And it may not even be on them. It may just be that like, I can get Gunless. I'm gonna get Gunless. You know, like that could be what it was. Or like, yo, you know, he just wants to team with Looney, and he's like, I want to team with Looney. I'm teaming with Looney.
Definitely.
You know, it could just be as much as that. Who knows?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, going into a new game, all bets are off when he thinks that this whole year was kind of just chalked anyway.
Yes.
Man, I feel so bad for somebody like Hollow and Draws. Like just because they did well in the game that everybody hated, and some vets just like couldn't even perform at all in this game. So they decided
ended up going online.
Now we're going next game because, you know, this game was bad, didn't count for anything. It's like, what? They put in all this work to be good for you guys, and now we're just going to throw them away, you know?
Yeah. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see what the pros think about that going into offseason for sure. So, all right. We need to predict. We need to predict.
Yeah, we do. We need to
So let's get into the predictions. Let's go. Who's the best in the game? So we're going to go off of this bracket here and just talk about these future matchups for this weekend. They're happening the winners finals, the losers semis, and the losers finals all happen on Saturday. And then we got the whole day on Sunday, a full-on championship series, the grand finals, best of 9 is happening on Sunday. So do you guys want to start in the losers or start in the winners?
Starting the losers.
All right, I'll start in the losers.
Yeah.
We've got Huntsmen versus the Royal Ravens in losers. We have FaZe versus Empire in winners. So obviously the winner of the Huntsman Royal Ravens match will play the loser of the Empire FaZe match in the losers finals to find themselves in the grand finals.
Yeah.
So based off what you guys saw from these teams, Huntsman, Royal Ravens.
Man.
I mean, Rex gave away his opinion early on.
So it thinks can London carry the fire and the perfect gameplay they were doing this
for another week
that we just saw and keep doing that and then show up in the finals and do it against the Huntsmen of all teams, who Huntsman is probably like, it's a hard team to play against because it has Scump, it has Formal, these big names, Hex, the whole thing. Will they be able to perform like they did still? And that I'm not so sure about. I think they just got this fire underneath them, and they're almost in a way getting iced right now.
Ice is a good word. Ice is a really good word. I mean, we all know there's going to be a lot of viewers for this match, which ironically, I mean, it's not played live, so I don't know how that kind of plays out. But either way, a lot of people are going to see this match.
Yeah.
I mean, we peaked at 146K during the OpTic Huntsman match, which was that's really good.
That's a really good.
I mean, that's like BO4 Champs finals numbers. So there's actually a really good chance that this upcoming weekend far eclipses any BO4 tournament.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's pretty interesting in itself that we're in an online league.
Yeah.
And eclipsing BO4's popularity. Maybe that's a testament to the popularity of Warzone. Who knows? But anyway, long story short, I mean, the X factor in the series. I mean, Sam, where are you at with it? Like when it comes to like the maps and like the modes. I mean,
here, baseline is what I think. The only way I think Ravens win is if Huntsmen play against themselves in a way. Like Huntsmen at their best versus Ravens at their best. Huntsmen are taking it for sure. But we do know Huntsmen have a tendency to be a little shaky here and there, and can throw away some maps.
And Pristini can get ahead of himself and get first blooded 7 times.
So that in that situation, it's possible Ravens could take it, but I think Huntsmen take this one 3-1, 3-0, maybe even 2. I think Huntsmen for sure have it.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to expect the Dom goes to the Huntsman. So that puts, I mean, like if London wins the Dom, I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked.
Huntsman's S&Ds looked really good.
And London's looked kind of shaky earlier on. Then they kind of started clutching up later in the tournament. So early on in the tournament, their S&Ds looked a little shaky. And then they clutched up later.
The only thing is that, if like Weskin like takes over the map in an S&D, right?
Right. And Weskin wasn't really hitting his shots during Champs. It was... I mean, we saw Construction Shani, and Zero played really. I mean, they were kind of like the standouts for the London throughout the series for the most part. I mean, Skrapz and Weskin had their moments.
Yeah,
but like really, it was Shani and Zero really shining. And like, but when you say that, and then you're like, okay, they're playing the Huntsmen. The Huntsmen have a week to kind of like prepare their map pool for this tournament. It's a tough ask for London. And yeah, I would imagine, like you said, Rex, they're going to be pretty heavy underdogs. London's going to be pretty heavy underdogs.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. If they bring that fire, it's definitely possible. And S&Ds, Pristini was throwing his life away a little bit. I have a feeling, though, when Huntsmen come back, that's not going to be happening as much.
Yeah, I'd imagine as well. Because they really tried to work to expand their map pool like throughout this tournament. I mean, they were talking about that going into it and like how much they wanted to really expand things. Obviously, they felt more comfortable on Arclov after clutching it up time and time. They clutched up round 11 3 times on Arclov. Like,
pretty crazy.
What?
Yeah.
Twice in game 5, once in a game 2.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And so, I mean, London, they lost to the Subliners on Arclov. Then they beat the Subliners on Ramaza. I'd be surprised if the Huntsmen are willing to play Ramaza. But I don't know. It's hard to say with how that plays out. I would imagine this could be a 3-0, but I'll pick 3-1 to be a little bit safe because I think there's a way. I mean, London took both hard points off of New York.
Yeah. I was gonna say like it's definitely possible London take the hard point for sure, but
so I wouldn't put it past them for sure. But like that's the weird thing is that like Toronto they lost both they lost both hard points to Toronto pretty badly, and then won the Ramaza S&D. But then, they won both hard points against New York, and New York beat the Huntsmen in both hard points. So maybe that's just a weird matchup thing. But at the end of the day, I feel like I'll go 3-1, pick the Huntsmen to lose map 1.
Yeah, I'm going 3-1 also.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, there we are. We got the Huntsmen moving on unanimously. I'm sorry, all of you my friends across the ocean. The London Royal Ravens might meet their end there, but if they don't, that'll be crazy.
I know.
That would be insane.
That would be wild.
Insane. That'd be wild. But yeah, I think we're all pretty confident about that. All right.
Yeah.
So we're going to a huge matchup here. This is to this is to punch your ticket into the grand finals, the winners finals between FaZe and Empire. The match that I would say like 85% of people who made brackets had. It felt like everyone had this matchup. Unless you were a Huntsman fan, maybe you picked the Huntsman to beat FaZe. But shout out FaZe for winning the Huntsman match, by the way. Yeah. It was close as it gets for a series for the most part. But I was happy to see my prediction fulfill itself.
Yes,
that's all. You know how it goes. But all right, long story short, Rex, FaZe v Empire. This is a tough one for you, I know. Based off of what you saw at this tournament from FaZe, from Empire, FaZe playing the Huntsman, Empire playing the Ultra. Where are you at with this?
It's these teams like just don't match up well in my head because they're just different. FaZe is so fast, whereas Dallas is so much more, I think, methodical with their gameplay.
Right.
And I think, again, it's going to come down to who's going to be the smarter team. And I think Dallas is going to be that smarter team. I know.
We've heard that a lot this year.
I know. But FaZe did look
really good.
Really good and looked like they got smarter.
Yeah.
My
FaZe
brain
rotations
is
were
saying
on point.
FaZe, but my heart is saying Dallas. And I'm going to go with a 3-2 to FaZe. I think it's going to be 3-2 FaZe.
I thought you were going to go with your heart.
I'm going to be honest with you. Round 11s with Dallas, I just don't know how much I trust them.
Yeah, it was just the one question I have was what happened on that Petro hard point. Maybe you could just to FaZe against the Huntsman. Maybe you just chalk it up to Scump caught fire, and that's hard to beat. When Scump is doing what he was doing at the beginning of that map, he was like 20 and 9 at one point, 20 and 8 or something like that at some point. At one point in the map, he was on fire early, and Simp was losing those gunfights to Scump all game long, and that was Simp's worst map of the champs. I think he went 18 and 27 in that Petro hardpoint.
Jeez.
And Scump went 30 and 18. And that was, they won a hardpoint handily when Persini went 12 and 26. And so that's just telling of what Chicago can do.
Yeah.
I don't know. Atlanta looked really dominant in that first hardpoint, but you could chalk it up to the Huntsman coming out slow. It's hard to say, but at the same time, Atlanta was the one coming off of not playing, or Huntsman already played. So I don't know. Sam, where are you at with it? I'm kind of arguing both sides.
Yeah, no, I do think this is going to be a 3-2 for FaZe. Simply because, like you mentioned, simply because FaZe does seem to be a smarter team. You can tell their rotations are, there. When prior they were just relying on pure, gunfights, right? They weren't even rotating. It felt like, I think they're a smarter team. I think they're prepared. Obviously, Dallas, that's not taking away anything from Dallas. It seems that the raw talent on FaZe is there, and if they're firing on all cylinders and then being smart at the same time, it seems like they would probably take it. But it's hard though.
Dallas looked really good in those last two maps. They almost 100-point club Toronto on Gunrunner.
Yeah,
and then they put them 6-2 on Piccadilly.
Yeah. So and again, when I say this, it's not saying that Dallas is for sure not going to win. I'm having a hard time.
Yeah.
But if I had to go with my gut, it would be 3-2 FaZe.
Yeah. What makes it what's really interesting for me is like, you know, at this point in the year, when you have a week to prepare for a winners final and you know your opponent, I mean, S&D is a complete toss-up. It's a complete toss-up. It's almost impossible to predict. Both these teams have been pretty good at S&D the past 2 months. I mean, really good. And like at the end of the day, if it goes game 5, you're picking 2 S&Ds, and it's like, how do you split the hairs? Yeah. You know, because it's like there's so many minute factors depending on what maps they want to play, and then like you're gonna go into a, you know, I don't know, it becomes really, really hard to pick. And the Dom feels like a toss up as well, where it just depends on what map they end up playing. I think I'm gonna go FaZe 3-2 as well, based off the fact that they're gonna have they're gonna have the side, like the map advantage when it comes to being the higher seed in the tournament, and that might just be the X factor off the maps alone. Yeah. So that's the difference. But Dallas's form in those last 2 maps were scary good. It was scary good. Yeah. And that might have been the best Call of Duty we saw all weekend out of any team, was Dallas on that Gunrunner hardpoint, because they were unstoppable.
Yeah.
So that's my rant.
Yeah.
FaZe 3-2. All right, so that sets up an Empire Huntsman, a juicy match in the losers finals to potentially, to go play FaZe in a best of 9 in the grand finals on Sunday. All these matches are happening on the same day, these first 3. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it at all, but you know, just a fact.
Yeah.
So Sam, Empire Huntsman, who you got?
There's just, it's so, it could go either way.
Oh wow, really?
All of these maps could go either way.
Who do you have more confidence in to play great Call of Duty?
I have more confidence in Dallas.
Yeah, same.
It just seems like Dallas is all on the same page on everything.
Let's go game mode by game mode. All right, Rex, join in. Who do you have more confidence in hardpoint? Huntsman or Empire?
Gosh.
Huntsman, probably. I think Huntsman.
Really? I might say Empire.
Gosh,
it's hard to say.
I don't know. Like Huntsman, I do not know. I would say Empire for sure would, you know, slightly edge a Huntsman in S&D.
I think and Empire would have the edge in Dom.
And Dom. So maybe we see
at this point in the year.
Yeah.
And, well, it does depend on what map they play, because Empire is very hit and miss on Dom maps on the season, which is interesting, you know, because like Empire on the season is 24-11 in Dom on the year, but they're 15-3 on Hackney, 2-3 on Petro, and 7-5 on Gunrunner. So like if you play them on Hackney, it's terrifying. But I don't think Huntsman want to play Hackney at all.
No, I don't think so.
Because on the year, Huntsmen are 9-9 on Hackney. They'd much rather play Gunrunner. So I would imagine we see a Gunrunner, unless Empire's willing to play Petro.
Yeah, 3-2 Dallas. Yeah,
3-2 Dallas, says Sam.
I can't explain it.
Yeah, it's just that feeling.
It's just a feeling. I mean, if Dallas is, I don't know.
Yeah,
Pristini's the X factor.
Right. I mean, I agree. Rex?
Yeah, I'm gonna say 3-2 Dallas as well. I almost want to say 3-1 Dallas, to be honest.
Man, that would be. Crim would be feeling himself if he eliminates his ex-OpTic teammates.
Oh yeah.
Here's the thing: Pristini really is that factor. Is Huntsman be able to kind of fix that? I don't know. I feel like it's just a Pristini thing. Like their S&Ds, Empire, I think is just going to be better. But although I don't know, Shotzzy and S&D is kind of freaks me out a little bit. But
I know, and ILLeY looked really good. ILLeY looked really good in that series, and if ILLeY's gonna play like that, Dallas is scary.
Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah, ILLeY's crazy 100%. Good. Yeah. And Hook, I feel like also is playing really well.
Oh,
with
Hook's
that team.
really consistent. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think, 3-1 Dallas, 3-2. Yeah, 3-2 Dallas.
Man. Empire's the higher seed, so the game 5 would be their map. I'm going to go 3-2 Dallas. We're all in agreement. We're really on the same page here, boys.
It's just hard. Like, I don't know.
It's tough.
It's tough, dude.
But if in that case, we're still following. Is that, or I think we're still following. Are we still? No, because we had.
Did we have
Mutineers? Oh dear God! Did we have the Mutineers?
Yeah, we
That's
had
tough.
Mutineers.
That's tough.
Winning?
No, we had them losing to Empire.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, so that sets up the same final we had before. FaZe Empire. In your mind, has anything changed from before, or is this still going to be a 5-3 for FaZe?
I feel like you put a lot of weight with FaZe going up 1-0 right away.
Yeah, and they have, again, the maps matter a lot, especially, my argument always is going to be that on the season, FaZe has had the best overall map pool when it comes to record on all maps, and Empire has been hit or miss, especially on Dom, and on, for sure, Dom, and on S&D, they're really good at Piccadilly and at Gunrunner, and they've been ho-hum on all the other maps. And so it's just like, I have more faith in FaZe in an 8 map series over the course of the series, especially when it's starting up 1-0.
Because again, they could be trading maps,
right?
But then FaZe has the 1-0 up, so it's like, even if they're like technically equal, at that point, FaZe is up 1-0. Maybe
I'm still taking FaZe 5-3.
Maybe I'm putting too much, emphasis on it, but it just seems like such a huge advantage just to start 1-0.
That 1-0 up is crazy. And how well is Priesta gonna do? You think
Priesta looked really good on the AR. He looked really good.
He had his moments where he wasn't like, the Priesta we know. So I don't know.
And Priesta's playing like that. FaZe is scary.
I guess I'm already talking like Priesta basically has to play bad to win. I mean, I gotta say,
Priesta had a 1.18 in that series against the Huntsmen.
I gotta say, FaZe is probably gonna win that one.
Yeah, I think so too. Just the circumstances that our bracket is, it's got to be FaZe.
I mean, I could honestly see 5-2, 5-3.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, like they had I don't know. I think FaZe. I mean, Simp was playing bad in the respawns, and they still beat Chicago 3-2. I would expect Simp to come out and play well against Empire. Yeah, I'm sticking FaZe 5-3.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm a fan of them being like up 1-0. Like, I know I want the
well, then you
league
can't.
to
You
matter.
have to have. You have to have the losers bracket matter. You have to punish a team for going down the losers.
But then there's a reset like, I don't. Yeah.
Would you rather have a reset bracket?
I mean, I guess I don't know. I don't know. It's tough. I'll have to see this happen. See how I feel about it.
I was gonna say I'm
excited for it. I'm personally really excited for it. It gets me way more excited because it gives Empire a better chance. I think it gives Empire a better chance than a reset bracket. But I don't know. Maybe not. It's more fun for the viewer.
Yeah.
I am beyond pumped for it.
Yeah.
So it should be fun. Yeah. All right, real quick. We need to talk about the MVP conversation real quick here, because otherwise, like, what are we doing with our lives? This podcast, you guys are getting a marathon. You're a real treat out here. Okay, MVP. Shotzzy won the MVP on the season. I mean, we talked about it a little bit on our little watch party, but how do you feel about that? It's kind of the debate between the definition of what an MVP is. Yep. Is it truly the most valuable player, or is it the debate of like, this is the best player in the league?
Most valuable.
And all right. Do you believe that's what the award means?
I think so. Who brought the most to their team? And Shotzzy definitely did that. He was on a great team, and it's pretty much a lot because of him. If without him, Empire is not Empire.
Yeah.
Okay. So if there was a best player in the league award, it would be a different recipient. The best player of Modern Warfare would be a different recipient.
I don't know. I have to see the grand finals to find out. I think Shotzzy.
Well, of the regular season.
Of the regular season, I mean, Shotzzy had a really bad start, so I don't know if you can consider him in that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it just depends. He caught fire after like 3 events.
He did catch fire, and like now he's insanely good. His movement is no one compares to his movement.
Okay, Sam, what do you think?
Yeah. I'll be honest, I was a little surprised when he won. Undoubtedly rookie of the year.
Obviously at this point.
Absolutely.
There's no debate. It's not even close.
But I would have probably taken the stance of either Simp or Celium. But I get it though. I get it. I get when you're talking about value, who brought their team up the most.
I know. And it's just weird because like certain sports, like the MVP is very like valued differently, you know, like in the NBA, MVP isn't necessarily most it is not always most valuable. In the NFL, it's kind of like who's the best quarterback. Like it kind of depends on the sport and how they like define it. And like, like in my head, I was thinking of it more as like the best player in the league, which I would still give to Simp. But like if you define it straight off of value, I agree with you then that like when it comes to Shotzzy was so important for his team. If you take him out of this team, the Empire are probably like a middling average team.
Average team.
Yeah.
Like let's just say you replace Shotzzy with Silly.
No.
Or you replace Simp with Silly. Like FaZe is. I would still think FaZe is probably a better team than Empire is in that case.
Totally.
So that's where I get your argument. Like you were kind of replacing with like a pretty like middle tier player right now, and then that's where you kind of see the average debate. So I don't know. I mean, you okay with that?
Yeah. I when you're talking about that, yes, Shotzzy.
Right. If there was a best player of the year award, who is it?
I would have said Simp.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, best
That's
player. Right. I mean,
Simp.
all year.
Ding,
It's
correct.
gotta be Simp.
Correct answer.
Simp's way too consistent.
Yeah. Over the season, again, like you can debate maybe right. I mean, if you had to say going into this weekend, who is the best player in Call of Duty? Rex?
Simp.
Who is it? It's Simp? Okay. I would still agree.
It's gotta be Simp, right? Yeah.
I would still agree, but Shotzi's a close second.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's the debate.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Who's your prediction? If we all have FaZe winning 5-3, so is the MVP Simp? But Abezy has been playing fantastic.
I know.
Priesta has been playing great.
Yeah.
Celium could go off at any moment.
Yeah.
And there's 2 more matches that they got to play, so anything could happen.
Yeah.
And if it's a COD Champs MVP, Simp had a bad first series. So right now, Abezy and Priesta are off to a hot start. So who's your prediction for Champs MVP?
Let's give it to Priesta. Simp already won last year.
Nah, dude. Not the Priesta.
Why not?
I want to give it to Simp again.
That's so
Simp,
boring,
I think,
though.
is like the leader of that team. I think Simp.
But you have to predict who's going to really play well in these last 2 matches. So if you predict Simp's going to play really, really well, which I would imagine he does, if they're going to win that many maps.
And it's Simp going back to back. He carried E United, and then like now he's.
You can make the same argument for Abezy.
But can you? Are we really going to sit here and say Abezy is the reason that happened?
Again, Abezy had
he played a major role. Don't get me wrong.
Again, we're talking about Champs MVP. Abezy had a 1.18 in the Huntsman FaZe series as well, and he played amazing.
Yes, I'm not taking that away from him, but Simp, I think,
and the first bloods that Abezy was getting, I think he's gonna keep that up. Which I mean, he has all year. So I get the argument, I really do. I think it would be Abezy 1, Simp 2. I mean, Priesta's off to a hot start. I would say Priesta 3. I mean, Celium was just middle of the road, so it's possible. But, Simp could go off at any moment. And that's the thing. It's like we always know that's a possibility.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this, and this might discredit my argument a little bit, but Simp is very valuable to the FaZe roster. Like, I think you're going to take if you take Abezy out of that FaZe roster,
5 minutes ago,
in a way, he can sort of be changed. Not like, obviously Abezy's great, but if you take Simp out, it's like we're losing the heart of FaZe a little bit.
Sounds like the MVP of the season to me.
It just depends. Like they're both extremely valuable players. Shotzzy and Simp, they're both extremely valuable.
Yeah, for sure.
That is correct.
But I would say if Empire would be placing lower without Shotzzy, then FaZe would be placing without Simp.
Right.
So Shotzzy is carrying more load than Simp is carrying.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm really excited to see what ends up happening. I mean, we're not trying to overstate like that anything could happen. I mean, literally anything could happen. I mean, at the end of the day, like for you Huntsman fans out there, it's not like it's improbable that they go on this run. So please don't roast us if it happens, because like we're saying like this is splitting hairs. It's gonna be
tight games.
It's gonna be tough, and like, you know, I mean, we all expect. I think we all would expect whoever wins the winter final has by far the best chance to win the grand final, because you're gonna be in a good spot, and you're gonna have time to prepare based off what you see the day before. Like you know, because you're gonna be able to win that winner's final, and you got the whole day. And like that team's gonna be really I don't know. I just feel like if Empire wins and you see Empire versus FaZe or Empire versus Huntsman, that's gonna be really. If Empire wins the winners finals, that's incredibly interesting. And like the rematch between Huntsman and FaZe at that point, Huntsman could win the rematch, 100%. And then you have a Huntsman FaZe, you have a Huntsman Empire grand final. That'd be
sick
nuts.
too.
And side note, all of the members of United made champs top 4.
Woo.
That's crazy.
Stay United, baby.
That's wild. Could you imagine how fun that team would have been this year?
I know.
So fun.
Sick.
Watch Ravens win it all.
And then, guys, if the Ravens win it all, what do we do?
Hottest operators.
Talk with a
British
accent.
That's happened. Anything. You talk with a British accent the whole podcast. Is that what you just said?
We all talk in a British accent.
Oh no, mate.
No.
We all make raven cawing sounds at the beginning of our podcast for the intro.
How about we pool in and give away a hoodie if the Ravens win?
I'm down.
All right, sure.
Why not?
A Ravens hoodie giveaway.
Yeah, Ravens hoodie giveaway if the Ravens win.
Yes.
All right, let's do it. All right, guys, that's the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did, drop a like, drop a comment, drop a review on Apple Podcasts. We read those reviews, as you guys know. And it should be a fun one. Drop all your pins down below, what we got right, what we got wrong, why we're idiots, why you're the smartest human alive, and why your brain is 4 times bigger than mine. So, as always, guys, I'm your voice of SalvationsElite. To my right is Bash_Bo3, and to our farthest right is Rex ShadyNero. And guys, this has been the best we call you Esports Podcast, and we will see you next time. We out.